Hi, welcome to Hannity as we cap off a busy news night and week. What a disaster this entire week has been for the Democrats, the deep state, and the mob and the media. And tonight, we have a lot of breaking news. Nutty Nadler's, well, his own shift show, Impeachment Circus, is chugging right along after a long week of pointless, idiotic BS hearings. Most Americans wanted to stop. They see this for what it is. Poll numbers for this witch trial are tanking. Now, here's something I think is the biggest barometer. Ratings for fake news CNN, Area 51, Roswell, Rachel Maddow's, MSDNC, The Conspiracy Channel. It has bottomed. Even their nutty audiences know it's a disaster. It is so bad, you got Nutty Nadler and his shift show. He can't even stay awake. Sweet dreams, Jerry. And by the way, yesterday, one Democratic congressman was caught watching golf on his laptop in the middle of their impeachment coup hearings. This is the very serious, historic, solemn process that demands our attention, according to Pelosi and the shift show and Nutty Nadler, and, of course, the state-run TV media mob. Wow. Late last night, after Nutty Nadler abruptly ended the hearing without a vote, a very angry and ticked off Congressman, should be Senator, Doug Collins, was rightfully fed up with his Democratic colleagues. Let's take a look.
The committee will now stand in recess until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., at which point I will move to divide the question so that each of us may have the opportunity to cast up or down votes on each of the articles of impeachment until history be our judge. The committee is in recess.
Mr. Chairman, there was no consulting from the minority ranking member on your schedule for tomorrow, in which you just blown up schedules for everyone. You chose not to consult the ranking member on a schedule issue of this magnitude.
So typical.
This is the kangaroo court that we're talking about.
Congressman Collins, with all due respect, I'm going to take Nutty Nadler's sign. It was way past his Betty Bye time, and he needed his teddy bear, or else he'd nod off at the table again. Now, if you're also disgusted by this incredibly baseless charade, this Ukrainian impeachment coup attempt where you bifurcate your brain and you forget Joe and Hunter, the real quid pro quo bribery, real scandal, zero experience Hunter, I do have good news. Now, it could all come to an end right now if these 31, right there, self-described moderates, they ran as moderates, weren't standing in the way. Now, you see, those are all districts Donald Trump won in 2016. They all vote against impeachment. It wouldn't pass the House. Those lawmakers on your screen right there, they represent the districts that President Trump won, and in some cases by big margins, almost none of them willing to stick up for their own constituents. We hear maybe 8 might break away. Now, sadly, these cowards are ready and willing. They're willing to walk the plank for Nancy Pelosi, AOC, the squad. They care more about what? Radical socialists, far-left leadership, divisiveness, do-nothing Democratic Party than they do about Americans and what they have now done to this country for 3 years. Now, in order to get elected, that means they had to lie to the voters and pretend to be independent-minded, rational leaders. But now you, we, the people, we'll keep rolling it. We know the truth. These lawmakers, none of them are moderates. They're all frauds, almost all of them supporting the most vague, the weakest, politically motivated 2 articles of impeachment, because first it was the quid pro quo, but that ended up only being for Joe and zero experience Hunter. And then, of course, we'll call it bribery. No, we'll call it extortion. Well, now we're down to this. Abuse of power. And, the president sought remedy in the judicial branch of government because there's a conflict with the legislative branch, which every other president has done. So we'll call that obstruction. By the way, devoid of any impeachable offense. In doing so, those 31, they're telling their constituents that their votes don't matter. These Democrats should know better, because just a few years ago, it was the same Nancy Pelosi that decimated the so-called moderate wing of a party. They lost the majority because she jammed through Obamacare, keep your doctor care and save money, on average $2,500 a year. If you think that's bad, how do you think Medicare for all with no private insurance is going to work out? $52 trillion price tag in 10 years and $94 trillion for the new Green Deal with no gas, no oil, everything's free, no combustion engine, and eventually no planes or cows. But you might remember this.
It's going to be very, very exciting
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
You need to pass it. Yeah, that average family, by the way, yeah, 174% on average increase. And, almost 40% of the country only has one Obamacare exchange choice. Only one. Millions lost their doctors and plans. So Pelosi is once again sending the sheep out to pasture. And for what? If and when these BS articles of impeachment pass the House, it's dead on arrival in the U.S. Senate. We had Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell telling us that very thing last night. He plans to obliterate what is the weakest articles of impeachment, witch hunt, Ukrainian impeachment coup attempt, if it reaches his chamber. Here's what he announced on our show right here last night.
Everything I do during this, I'm coordinating with White House counsel. There will be no difference between the president's position and our position as to how to handle this. To the extent that we can. The case is so darn weak coming over from the House. We all know how it's going to end. There's no chance the president's going to be removed from office. My hope is that there won't be a single Republican who votes for either of these articles of impeachment.
Now, needless to say, the professional impeachment cheerleaders and the mob and the media, we now know nothing but an extension of every lie. They got it all wrong on Mueller, 4 investigations, and they missed the biggest corruption, abuse of power scandal, as we learned this week, in their lifetime. They didn't care about Hillary's bought and paid for dirty Russian unverifiable dossier, which we now know was used as the bulk of information in the FISA report. And without it, they never would have got the FISA report to take away the constitutional rights of Carter Page and then backdoor everything into all-world Trump, campaign transition and presidency. The mob, they're not happy that Senator McConnell is crushing their dreams. For the past 24 hours, they've been throwing a massive temper tantrum as usual. And what do you expect for them? They're pouting, temper tantrum, anger, because they're losing. Take a look.
McConnell is willfully sort of violating norms that we have about his conduct or what it's supposed to be in this setting.
It's just deeply disturbing to hear the head of the jury say that he is coordinating with the defendant. That's essentially what is happening here.
As the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell stated explicitly that he does not care about this constitutional process. He thumbed his nose at the way this is supposed to proceed.
Oh, okay. Same people who held the compromised, corrupt, congenital liar Schiff's hand, carried his water, threw out every lie, every con, every abuse of power, every secret hearing. For over 3 years now, they have done nothing for the American people but conspired with Democrats, state-run TV and the media to take down a duly elected president, breathlessly pushing one lie, one hoax, one conspiracy after another, reporting Democratic talking points as gospel truth, and all the while pretending to be unbiased news. This is NBC News. No, they're not. In the end, they were wrong about everything. Thankfully, to this great ensemble team that we have put together in this program, my radio show, Rush, Mark, few others, few people here too, not everybody, we were right. We made sure we were right. They were wrong about the 2016 election. We were right about that. We were right about Obama being a radical president with a horrible record. That proved to be true. They were wrong 4 times on their Russia collusion hoax that they pushed. Wrong about Brett Kavanaugh. They pushed that lie. Wrong about, Nicholas Sandmann, the Covington High School kids. He's going to be rich and he deserves every penny. Wrong about deep state spying. And they did spy on a president and a candidate and a transition team. Wrong about FISA abuse. Comey straight up lied. Schiff straight up lied. Wrong about the current Ukraine hoax. So why have they been so wrong so often? Because they are driven by hate, rage, psychosis, and an agenda, a left-wing, radical, extreme socialist agenda. And whereas we are guided in our investigations by actual facts, knowledgeable sources that we check and double-check, and, of course, our ensemble team of journalists, investigative reporters that we brought to you night after night for almost 3 years on this show. Now, I will say I was a little overwhelmed today in the American Spectator. Jeffrey Lord, remember he got pushed out of fake news CNN. He published an op-ed titled, by the way, he works for the Spectator and also on his own website, titled The Vindication of Sean Hannity, a relentless pursuit of the truth. Now, not about me. The article details how this program with our great ensemble cast, and I want all of them that worked so hard to take a bow, we were pretty much the only outlet on TV. Had some friends in talk radio, a couple of people here, not everybody here by any stretch, that investigated, that used real sources, real materials, real reporting, and what we've been calling the biggest abuse of power corruption scandal in history. I want to thank everybody who's been on this show the last 3 years, the hard work that they have done. We were right about FISA and the FISA fraud, right about deep state spying, right about weaponization of intelligence, right about the bulk of information, the unverifiable dossier. We even learned that there was only one subsource. We didn't know that part. And that guy laughed when he said, well, that was bar talk. And we are right about the current Ukrainian witch hunt as well. Yeah, we believe Putin is a bad guy, hostile actor, hostile regime. Yeah, they interfered. Devin Nunes warned in 2014. But the Ukrainian court and Politico, January 11, 2017, they chronicle Ukrainian election interference to help Hillary and hurt Trump. We follow the facts, as Congressman Jim Jordan has stated. The facts are on the president's side. They always have been. Take a look.
They're never going to stop. Congressman Green said yesterday, if the Senate doesn't convict, it will not end. This is not about Ukraine. Facts are on the president's side. Zelensky said he wasn't pressured. Ukrainians didn't even know aid was held at the time of the call. And most importantly, they did nothing to get the aid released. This is about one basic fact. The Democrats have never accepted the will of the American people.
Thank goodness for the Freedom Caucus guys. Jordan, Meadows, Gates, Devin Nunes. I can't mention them all.